Hey there, welcome back to Doug Has Too Many Hobbies. Today's ice cream is a recommendation/request from my trivia master Jeremy, and it is a creme brulee ice cream. So we're going to start with our standard 1 cup of milk, whole milk, and 1 cup of heavy cream, and we will just bring that up to a simmer over low heat. And while we do that, we've got 6 egg yolks and 2/3 of a cup of sugar. We will whisk that thoroughly. This is called blanching the eggs. Our milk is simmering, and we have our egg yolks blanched, so we do need to temper this. We'll draw off a ladleful and go ahead and pour that into the egg yolks and mix that around. If you missed it in a previous video where I made a custard, we do this so that we don't curdle the eggs, we don't cook them too quickly. And we'll go ahead and add those egg yolks back in. And at this point I also want to add our vanilla. So I do really like, for ice creams, vanilla bean paste. We're going to add a whole tablespoon to this because vanilla is the star of the show. So we add our vanilla and put that back on low to medium heat. And you want to whisk that continuously as the mixture thickens, and it's thickening because we're cooking those eggs. That's been about a minute. Let's see if we're there. So, I think that's pretty close. So we'll go ahead and kill the heat. Now, as always with a custard style ice cream, we like to strain to get out any bits of egg that may have overcooked. So that made a little bit more than I expected, so we'll divvy this up. And we add our remaining 1 cup of cream. Stops the cooking process. And we'll lid those up, throw them in the fridge overnight. Let's consider the mix-ins for creme brulee, the creme brulee topping. Now it's simply caramelized sugar. It's usually done with a torch. I want to take 2 different approaches at it and see which one I like better. So the first approach is the stovetop method. We're going to take about 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Got a few tablespoons worth of water here, and we'll throw in a little bit of corn syrup. Now put that over medium heat and begin stirring. And we just want to stir this until the mixture turns slightly clear, which means that we've got all of the sugar and the corn syrup dissolved into that water. That has cleared up a lot. We will remove our spatula. We will not be stirring anymore, and place the candy thermometer into the sugar. So this would be a lot like if you were making hard candy at home, which is something that I do enjoy. We'll be basically making hard candy, but without any flavoring or food coloring. So do not stir this. Tempted though you might be, do not stir this again. At this point, this is about 212 degrees, which is the boiling point of water. So what we're doing right now is we're cooking all of the water off and leaving the sugar behind. Sugar is very hygroscopic, so it absorbs water very easily from its surroundings. So we're going to cook that water off, and as that water cooks off, we'll eventually get to a point where all of the water is gone and we're left with sugar. It will start to darken into a nice it'll go light amber, and then we'll go into a dark amber color. And what we're shooting for is the hard crack candy stage, which is around 310 degrees. And what we have when we're at hard crack is a candy that will snap easily once it's cool. So we'll just continue to cook this and watch the temperature. Alright, now we're about to 230, 235, and this is where we get into what's called the ball stage. This is, once it's cooled, the sugar would be sort of a softer product that would hold together. So think nougat or caramel. Caramel is usually more towards the hard ball. Alright, now we're approaching the 280 degree range, which means we're in the crack range. You'll start with soft crack, which is where, obviously once it's cooled, you will still have that brittle fracture, but there's going to be some bending before you get to that. What we really want is hard crack. That's where it's just complete and instant snap. So that's about 310 degrees, and something really fun and interesting to watch happens here. We'll take our candy thermometer out. If you do feel the need to stir, don't stir, but you can swirl the pan around. So we do have a bit of the amber color starting to develop. It's a very, very light right now. And notice that it's really starting to darken up. We're sort of at what I would call a medium amber. This happens very, very quickly. Okay, that's a medium dark. I think that's good, so we'll go ahead and kill the heat. Now on a parchment-lined baking sheet, this is my candy baking sheet, it's seen better days. We're going to go ahead and pour that mixture out very slowly. We want to keep it from running too much. Okay, that's fairly thick, so just using our spatula, I'm going to spread it around a little bit here on the parchment. Get a slightly thinner. You can also just tilt the pan. Do be careful. This mixture is extremely hot and it holds its heat very well. You will get burned if you try and touch it. And it does not come off of your skin easily at all. Okay, I like that thickness. So we will just take this and set it aside to let it cool. And as it cools, it will harden up. Our stovetop topping has cooled enough. You can see that it breaks very easily. So I just want to, first of all, just break that into larger chunks. Large enough that I can fit into a Ziploc bag. Let's close up that bag, and we're just going to... The other approach that I want to take is something that's more like what you would actually find in a creme brulee. So I will take that same roughly 3/4 of a cup of sugar. We're going to spread it across this pan pretty evenly. I would use parchment, but I'm not entirely sure if it would melt as we do this. So spread that in a nice, thin, even layer. And now we get to use... So we've got this propane torch here, and I am just going to very gently wave it across the top of that sugar. This size torch is overkill. That's half the fun, right? Well, in retrospect, that may not have been the greatest idea. I was really hoping that we could get the really truly burnt sugar flavor, but what happened is the sugar started burning before it all had a chance to melt. I don't know if my torch was just too much. Probably with a smaller torch it would have worked better. But you know what? Failure is a part of life, and we'd have to deal with it. So we will probably go with the stovetop version and just rinse this pan. Hopefully all the sugar comes off. Let's go ahead and get this in the machine. We'll see if I'm coordinated enough to pour this from both sides. And surprisingly, the answer was yes. Now, as always, we turn this to a soft serve consistency, and then we'll throw in the sugar. Okay, I think we're at a point where we can go ahead and mix in our little sugar bits. Some of them are a little sharp and jagged. Hopefully you don't see a news story about somebody who choked on some burnt sugar. My hope is that it's still wet enough in here that it's going to round off a lot of those edges. We're just going to go ahead and dump it all in. Okay, I think we're there. It's a little softer than I expected. I don't know if some of that sugar, the smaller pieces, mixed in with everything else and reduced the freezing point, but we'll throw it in our containers, lid it up, and you know what we do now? That's right, put it in the trash. No, it's the freezer. It always goes in the freezer. Let's see how this turned out. Well, it scoops pretty well. So you can still see some of those little sugary bits. There's one right there. There's one right here. So at least those didn't completely dissolve and fall apart. Make sure that I get one in my bite here. All right, let's see how this tastes. Okay, so the sugar, the caramelized sugar does hold its crunch, but it also lent a lot of the bitter burn flavor into the rest of the ice cream. So if you like that, if that's the part of creme brulee that you like, is that bitter burnt sugar, then this is probably one for you. The ice cream itself doesn't really have its own flavor. Like it's not the star of the show like I wanted. I really wanted it to be the vanilla punch, and then you get the sugar in the background. But it's not bad. If you like that combination of bitter and sweet, this is probably a good one for you. It's not my thing, but at least the sugar did keep its crunch, and I'm happy about that. Okay, so that's creme brulee ice cream. If I were to make this again, I would definitely let the ice cream freeze a little bit longer before I added in the sugar, just so that it didn't taint the ice cream, and we would be able to keep all of that bitter burnt flavor all contained just to the sugar. Alright, I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you give this one a try, and have a great day. Bye!